Good morning, everybody. I'm Colette the Highway Stitcher, here to bring you my stitching from the highway and at home. It is March 8th, 9:15 in the morning. Cold morning. We've had real wonderful winter here, as you've probably heard. California was hit with tons of bad snowy weather, and of course most of that weather ends up collecting, getting stronger, and going over and hitting us with lots of snow. So we have had quite a winter, and I will be glad when this winter is over with. Right now it's 36 degrees, probably going up to about 40. So we've got 2 degrees Celsius, 4 degrees Celsius for a high. Yes, we are done. Very much done. But it's not done with us. So it's supposed to be some snow a little bit later in the day. And maybe a combination of rain and snow. I don't know, the temperatures have been going up just a little bit. So we might have a combination of snow and rain. Anyway, this is kind of an exciting floss tube for me. But it's also going to be a really long floss tube. The reason why it's an exciting floss tube for me is this is my 100th episode. Can't believe it. My milestone 100th episode. At the end of January, around the 26th, it was my 3-year anniversary of videoing and making floss tube, or making a video. And so that was hard to believe. And then to have the 100th episode come up, that's hard to believe too. So anyway, my floss tube anniversary and my 100th episode are pretty close together, and it's pretty exciting to me. I would have filmed this earlier. I usually like to film about every 2 weeks because that works out good for me. I don't have way too many projects to show, but I do have enough, enough progress to show you guys. But this month was a busy month. February's always are with me. And I just couldn't even get back. My last floss tube, 99, was January. I looked it up, January 31st. Thank goodness I write these things down. And now it is March 8th, and I am finally filming another one. So it's over a month. Don't like that, but that's how it is for this time. So anyway, I'm just going to move right along because this is going to be a long one. I have one FO, and that's a finished object for those who are just joining a stitching video for the first time. And then I have many, 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 many whips, which are works in progress. So anyway, my FO is Winter by Salt and Pepper Stitchin'. She is on Etsy. She has a lot of really, really cute patterns, just darling patterns. And I stitched this on a 36 count Seraphim fabric Boston colorway, and this is one thread over two linen threads, so it's 1 over 2. I used the called for colors in it, the DMCs, pretty much. I wanted this kind of a color look because it's kind of a grayish tinge, so it looks more wintry. And I plan on finishing this off and using this is a pattern that I'm doing for a little get together with a group of stitchers, and I want to have like a little gift to give out. Trying to think if there's anything else. I'll have Emily is Salt and Pepper stitching on Etsy. I'll have her information in my drop down. So cute. Those like the little quilted shapes and the Christmas trees and the kind of wintry design look is really sweet. Okay. Now on to whips. And of course you have the stitchy nose that we always talk about where it itches. What causes that? I do not know. Okay. First of all, I'm going to pick up, because it was top on my list, and I put it on the top here of all the whips because I just wanted to, it kind of like frames and starts excuse me, my whole, what I've done for the weeks or the month that I've been talking to you for stitching. And that is my temperature Quaker pattern. The temperature patterns, if you've seen them, are the ones where people like fill in different parts of the stitching with different colors depending on what they've chosen for their temperature for the day. I saw this one this year. This is a pattern by Stitching Mommy. She does a temperature pattern every year. And I really, really like this one. This one like called to me because I do like Quaker patterns a lot. And this one was fun because it's different Quaker motifs, and each one is for a month. And so I ended up deciding to do this one this year. I took a break for about a year or two maybe. And so this one starts out, this is just a black and white copy. And actually this is from my husband's copier because I do not have a copier that works right now. Mine's totally broken. It's 10 years old. I don't want to buy a new one right now and spend the money. So any copies you see that look nice are probably from a while ago, or if they are black and white, it's probably more recent from my husband's. Anyway, so they start out like January, February, March, and it goes on. And I'm doing this on like a 40 count, stitching it on a 40 count flax. So that's just a Zweigart fabric, just, regular fabric. But I thought the kind of natural look on it lent itself to what the colors were going to be when I looked up the colors. And the colors I am using, she has like a wide range of different charts you can use for your colors. The colors I am using are the varied temperature range chart, which works out pretty well for Utah. Anyway, last time I showed this was probably at the end of January. And so I already showed the first motif there, which had actually a variety of like cold temperatures, which are the purples, as well as some blues and even a kind of a turquoisey green. And that's because the first winter weather that hit us from California, northern California, which comes across to Utah, was actually warmer. It was weird. It was like warmer temperatures. And so we had a lot of rain and a lot of 40 degrees range. But then they got colder. And so when we moved into February, as you can see, I even got the coldest one, which was fun. So the coldest one is that light kind of purple color. So I had a whole lot more colder temperatures here in the purples and in the dark blues. So yeah, we've had our share of some highs being like 27, and then other highs, probably the highest high of being like 38, maybe 40. So, and here I'm starting the very far, the March one. This is only through March 3rd. I didn't get a chance to update it yet. So I usually do this, which some of my commenter friends were laughing because they thought it was a funny idea. I usually work on temperature Quaker, and there's no rhyme or reason for why I work on it at this particular time. But I work on it Saturday evenings to play catch up for my 7 days, which isn't unusual. Other people pick a day to work on their 7 days to catch up for their temperature chart. But I do it watching the TV show Svengoolie. Now, if you've heard of Svengoolie, it's like this funny guy who he does a TV show where he shows old monster movies from the 50s, well, from the 30s through the 50s. And I mean, he's had Frankenstein, Wolfman, all the way up to like some of the 50s movies like Crawling Eye and It Came from Outer Space. And then he's really funny because he'll make comments every time there's like they come to a break in the movie, for an advertisement. He'll come on and say some funny thing about it. So I call this my Svengoolie stitch. And so it's just funny. And I do want to make a comment to a stitcher, and I'm sorry, I forgot your name, and you sent me an email, and I have been so busy this whole month, I forgot to answer your email. You live in Chicago, and Svengoolie is like, you guys' personal fun person to do old monster movies. And you mentioned that your brother knew Svengoolie and worked with him. And I just want to let you know, thank you so much for that email if you are watching right now, because I loved it. When I read that, I read it to my husband and I said, this is so fun that somebody knows this guy who I love to watch every Saturday night. I'm just a sucker for Svengoolie, I'll tell you. And so I want to thank you for that email publicly, because it was just fun to hear somebody talk about personal little anecdotes about, and I can't remember his name, darn it, sorry about that. He has a name. He's not just Svengoolie, but I appreciate those personal little anecdotes of him. So, and that's getting off on a rant, but I just wanted to mention that's when I do my stitching for my temperature Quaker, is my Svengoolie stitching. So, okay, on to my big February stitching. Those of you who followed me during February on Instagram, I hosted hashtag full coverage February. And I wanted all of those of you who love full coverage patterns, who have lots of whips and full coverage, who are crazy about it, who love to fill in all those little X's and make a complete, beautiful picture, to get all involved in our full coverage February. And it was really fun. I wasn't able to participate the whole month, but I really had fun the half the month I did participate in it. I have traveling I do from the middle of the month till the end, and so I was not able to participate as much as I would have liked. But I did do a lot in it for the first 14 days. And I'm just going to let you know kind of what my take on full coverage February was, and show you all the pieces that I did. When I actually worked on it, I was doing like a vlog style, and every day, if you go back on my past videos, from February 1st through the 12th, I showed you the starting point of my full coverage whip and the ending point at the end of the day, and then I posted the video, which was about 5 to 6 minutes long generally. And the way I decided to do my full coverage February was I decided to do an acrostic, which an acrostic is similar to like sort of a crossword puzzle, in that what I did is I took the words full coverage and I used them to decide what I was going to pick for my pieces to stitch. So this is my stitching planner book, my stitching passion. I could have written this all down, but man, I didn't want to spend forever this morning getting ready for this video. So I decided I'm just going to pull out my my planning book and show it from there. So, and also my other planning book, that's my one planning book, and then my other is my book of days. And where I put my stickers in and how many stitches I did each day and that. So that's what I'll be using both of these to show you what I actually worked on. The first, here's my full coverage February, my acrostic. If you see down the side there, it's full coverage, FULLCOVERAGE. And then how I chose which one of my whips to do for that day for my vlog series. The first day was F. F I used for the word frogs, and that's because the whip that I chose to do was Minnie Singing in the Rain. The name, and there this is, since it's a mini, it's of course a smaller picture, and I haven't had a chance to enlarge the picture yet, like some do. But you can see there those cute little frogs, and they're singing in the rain, and there's the raindrops. So, love this piece, love it so much. I'm working on this with Amy of Amy Loves Toads. She has a great video. Please go watch her. She's wonderful. Sweetest person. Anyway, Amy and I started this. I think she's much beyond me on this now. But this is what I accomplished for my full coverage February. And what I mostly did on this is I filled in some more of the like stitches down here, but I also kind of worked across there and pulled and worked on some of those stitches down. Sort of a semi-typewriter method. And of course, I've not reached the other side, but that's what I chose to do. Kind of semi-typewriter, where I start with the highest unworked stitch and then fill in the same stitches from that color down as I go. So some of these are almost totally filled in. Some of them are partially filled in. This one here, I got 500 stitches on that day, which is really pretty good for just one day's worth of stitching. And this piece is at 1.16%. I'm working this on an easy grid, as you can see. This is not positive on this. This might be a 28 count easy grid, or it might be a 25, one or the other. And pre-gridded fabric, and 1/1 full cross, which is my go-to generally for full coverage. So I did reach, I wasn't trying to reach a percentage on anything here. I just wanted to get as many stitches as I could on each one of my whips. When I did this acrostic with the words, with the letters, I actually completed every single whip I have started in full coverage except for one. And so that one I will pick up this month and work on, so that I will be able to say I got so many stitches at least this year into every single whip I have for full coverage, which I just felt really good about that. So, but in the process, as I was looking at my percentages, I wrote them down on my book of days. Each one I did like 1 point this, 2 point that, whatever it is. As you know, there's some full coverages that have like 220,000 stitches, or tons of stitches. So I realized with a lot of my pieces, they haven't even reached 1% yet. So that would be a nice goal. And since I'm trying to concentrate on full coverage, I think that'd be a nice goal for me to try to reach 1% on all of these, even the ones that are huge pieces, to be able to say I have 1% in them. So that was my first one, frogs, which is for F. Let's see if I forgot to mention anything. All this talking, I have to drink so much water. Okay. The next one is you. And what I decided to do for you is I put down unable. And the reason why I did for unable is this piece here called Ariadne, which I used for the letter U for my acrostic. The reason why it says unable is I felt I was unable to do full coverage, but I wanted to do it. 4 years ago, I know it was pre-Pattern Keeper, so I was doing everything with the paper charts and filling them in, stitching and filling in. So, and I'm not sure how long full Pattern Keeper's been around, but I know it was pre-Pattern Keeper. I decided to do my first full coverage, which is Ariadne. It's a regular full-size full coverage. It's like 350 wide by 525 high. So, of course, I jumped in feet first. I did this because I loved this girl stitching and with her black cat. So I just thought this was so cool. Didn't know what I was getting into. I asked my good friend Brenda, who many of you watch. She does floss tubes too. Her handle name is Handwork Maniac. I went over and said, Brenda, help me get started on a full coverage. And so she showed me some of her tips and techniques, told me some of what, her one daughter, Catherine, would do. And so I kind of ran with some of her tips and proceeded to work on my first full coverage. So I thought I would be unable to do full coverage, but because of Ariadne, I was able to do it. Now, Ariadne, I only put in 327 stitches on the second day of February, but I have 9.42%, and that's because I was working on it, of course, for my first full coverage. As you can see from this, Pre-Pattern Keeper, I was doing page finishes. That just kind of what I wanted to do. I was doing page finishes as well as parking. The parking threads have all been put in. I find that I much prefer doing a semi cross country, like typewriter type of method now. And so, I just don't do parking anymore. But at the time I did, and I worked down with parking and tried to finish a page. So, the reason why I have 9.42% done on this is, of course, because of those first 3 pages that I did complete. When I got Pattern Keeper and I inputted it all, the stitches I'd already done into it and everything else, I was ready to go flying and doing something different. So, as you can see here, I was kind of working around in some colors that I could just fill in. What's in between those circles is a bunch of kind of it's like a chronic metallic to make it kind of look kind of shiny. And that's what some of those first little ones are. They're like chronic metallic. I did that some. And when I picked it up on Thursday to work on it, I was just trying to get Actually, I thought I was just going to work on a part where I could just get in tons of stitches to get tons of progress. But then I decided no, because I had done so much of this, I wanted to get all the way over to the other side of this piece. So I counted over, filled in some of the stitches, counted more, and I got all the way over here to the other side. So that is the very far right side of Ariadne. So all of my 327 stitches was pretty much all of this, starting from here, working my way over, and then filling that in. So now I'm to the other side. So I'll just start filling in, deciding what I'm going to work on. But anyway, that's what I did for her. This is an old gridded fabric that I got. Look at my top there, guy. That got dirty from not even working on this for a long time. Hopefully that'll wash out when I wash out this gridding. This is one that's like not a 10 by 10 grid. This is like a 20 by 20 grid. And sometimes it freaks out my brain when I pick it up again. I have to like reset my brain and say, this isn't 10 by 10 grid. This isn't my gridding, myself. This is 20 by 20. So anyway, that is Ariadne. And she was the U for unable. So back to my full coverage acrostic. And L is the next one for love. That was an easy pick. Again, it's not the actual name of the piece. The piece is called Baby Smiles, but I call it Aka Mom and Me. This has kind of been a fan favorite of people, and that's because it's an old picture from the 50s of myself and my mom when I'm about probably 8 months old or so, and my mom with me. I love this piece. Sarah Stitch-A-Mommy charted this for me, and I just appreciate that so much, and I just love this piece. So this one I got 0.76, and as you can see, I decided to work my way down and get her face showing, my mom's face. Previously, I had worked those top stitches in kind of a typewriter method, but I did it over to about the middle of this project, this whip, and then I worked my way down and did a little bit here. So that was what I did for last year, the only part that I worked on it. Well, this time I decided I was really wanting to get a framework and see her face showing up. So I just picked the stitches and the color that would show that. And I got 437. And as you can see, especially from farther back, you can see that's the outline profile of my mom. That was so exciting. And a lot of people mention that. They go, oh, that's so cool seeing the profile of her come to life. I did 0.76. I believe I already said that percentage. This will be one that I for sure want to get to 1% or more. So, I mean, it's just so cool. So neat. So, that was Mom and Me for February 3rd. February 4th, the letter is another L. course, for Full. So this time for the L, I used leaves for the word, and that's because I wanted to do another several hundred stitches in winter montage, because it was still winter. I guess it's still winter now even, but be that as it may. This is Winter Montage by Pain Free Crafts. These are Janet Stever patterns. She did one for each season of the year, and I have each one, and I started each one last year. Sarah, Stitch and Mommy and Me are doing this, as well as Brenda Hamwork Maniac is doing her version of it. When you watch her, she is actually doing like the kits that, oh my goodness, I don't remember the kit name, but there was a company like Dimensions that does kits, and they did kits for Janet Stevers. So she's doing her own little way of the kits for the season. So there's several of us that are working on this, and we really enjoy it. It's been really a fun piece. I got 403 stitches on Saturday, February 4th on this, as well as doing my temperature Quaker with my Svengoolie Quaker piece at night. So I ended up getting about 500 and some stitches total on both. This one I have 1.46% on, which I was surprised about, but I think this is a little smaller piece. Doesn't have as many stitches. So like 347 by 435, and I have some that are like 700, so that's why there's over a percent done on this one. This I am girding myself. It's on, all four of my pieces are on a moss 25 count Lugana. So you can kind of tell it's like a kind of a light green. And here's the piece up close. Well, I worked more on, actually what I did this time, I had worked quite a bit on the outline for the leaves, but the 400 and, how many stitches? 403 stitches I did this time was really filling in these little berries. So I got to work filling in most of the work on the little berries to get my 403 stitches. So now it's looking more like the little section that it is. Of course, there's a lot of leaves and a lot of berries in that section, but still, I'm excited that it really looks more like that. And I'm going to do similar to what Sarah is doing. She's going to do like a section and fill in the whole section before she goes to another one. And I think I'm going to do that too. This is also, like I said, 25 count. I'm grading this myself, and it's 1/1 full cross. Okay, 5 would be C. So let's see what that one was. This C actually goes for the actual title on this. C is for Country Music Dragon. Okay. Country Music Dragon is a Pain Free Crafts pattern by Stanley Morrison. I'm doing this as a cell. I think it's called Stanley Dragon Cell, but don't quote me on that. Sorry, Darren, if you're watching this. I'm just kind of doing this off the cuff, but I know we're doing a cell with dragons. And I picked this one because I'm a big country music fan, and I just loved this dragon on this guitar, like in front of the stage. I nicknamed him Garth. So I completed on this one. This is also a smaller one. It's 273 by 350. So I have done 2.29 stitches in it, and for my vlog that day on the 5th, I did 449 stitches. Again, I was doing a typewriter method, filling in as I went down. So that's a lot. The first part of that is a lot of the drapes for the stage. But what I worked on for the 449 was I went over a little bit farther, did down a little bit on the drapes so I could get right to where the beginning of the guitar head is, because I wanted to do that guitar head. So it was a lot of confetti, actually. Well, not too terribly, but I was determined I wanted to get a start on some part of what the dragon's on. So in this case, I didn't want to, it wasn't as much at how many stitches I got. It was more of getting to a certain point, which I did. As you can see, right there at the top is the head of the guitar. So that is Country Music Dragon. This is some kind of a gray 25 count Lugana. 1/1 full cross, gridding it myself. Okay, the next one is February 6. This one only has 0.53 done on it, so just a little bit over 0.5%. This one is for O, and I chose outdoor, and that's because it's a Bluegrass festival. That's the name of it. This is a large piece, 575 wide by 498 high, Heaven and Earth. I love bluegrass. As you can see from the Country Music Dragon, I like country and bluegrass music. I play the banjo a little. I'm not very proficient in it, but I do enjoy it. So, and I love to see people jamming in a bluegrass festival. So, anyway, this one does not have much done. Like I said, 0.53, so a little bit over 0.5%. So my goal on this one will be to get it past 1%. And as you can probably tell, I like starting in the upper left-hand corner. I don't know, that's just me. I'm left-handed. Maybe that's just from that. I have no idea. And originally I did this little part, like right up here. I know that I did I know I did a lot of that when I first started it. This time I knew that I wasn't really getting into much of showing anything else, because this is all just the top part of the barbershop, the wood in the barbershop, as you can see from that top left. So I figured for my goal, what I needed to do was get as many stitches as I could get. So I started working over here, and I did a lot of fill-in and worked my way across a little bit in a typewriter method, because there was a lot of the same color stitches, so I could get more stitches on it. And so I achieved 513 on this in one day, which was pretty good for full cross. This is kind of it might be just a white. I think it is. This is just a white 25 count, even weave, 1/1 full cross. Okay, February 7th was V, and what I chose for V was the word vintage, because this next piece I'm going to show you reminds me of kind of a vintage picture. I love it. It was one of my, I think this was either my second or third, I'd have to look back and see, but I know it's one of my oldest whips for full coverage, and it's Quilts of Cape Cod. This is also Heaven and Earth. I really like Jane Worcester Scott's pieces. I like all the color in it, all the shading, just the whole look of her pictures just pull me in. I just love them. I have several of them, let's see if I even finish one of them. But anyway, they're larger pieces, 400 wide by 319 high. But they're really fun to work on. I've had so much fun working on this with Pattern Keeper. It's just been so fun to pick colors and then just do them. So I started this pre-Pattern Keeper, so you'll see that I have some pre-Pattern Keeper stitching. Up in the top left, there's like 2 or 3 blocks done. I was doing kind of a diagonal block method with parking threads. So those first 3 blocks, 1, 2, 3, I was diagonally doing and parking the threads. When Pattern Keeper came out again, like I said, I kind of switched my methods, and I started pulling just colors for outlines. Like I would look at my pattern on Pattern Keeper and I go, ooh, that's the tree trunks. Ooh, that's something else. So that's what I did, and as you can kind of see from that, I sort of started doing more of a tree trunk with some of the blue of the sky behind it. Now that was all previous stitching. So what I actually did on this day was only this right here. Because in Quilts of Cape Cod, it's really confetti heavy. And it's hard to find a section that has a lot of fill in. And for this, I kind of wanted to get more done on it. I just felt like, you know, I had over 1%, but I wanted to just get stitching done on this instead of having something show up like I had before. So I got 500 stitches on that, which I was really happy about. Just like with Bluegrass Festival the day before, I got 500 and over. And I got 1.84%. And I ended up working on the sky using just, I believe, 3 different colors of the sky to fill in so that I didn't have to work on a lot of confetti this particular day. So that's kind of the odd looking, what you see and what I've done with Quilts of Cape Cod. So this is again a white 25 count, even weave, gridding it myself, 1/1 full cross. Okay, what's next? Ooh, my goodness, it's one that I have a lot more percentage in. One of the few. Okay, we're working down the word coverage. So the next letter was E. E I put for evil, for my evil queen, Story Keep Maleficent. If you've seen the Story Keeps in Heaven and Earth, this was also one of my older picks to do, because a Story Keep is very tall and narrow, so it's more doable. You know, you can finish it faster, supposedly, even though I have not worked on it as much as I should, because I could be done with it. But anyway, here's what it looks like, kind of like, almost like a bookmark. This is Heaven and Earth, artwork by Anya Kai. Love that picture of Maleficent, one of my favorite bad girls from Disney. So from Sleeping Beauty. I did 372 stitches that day, not as much. I know that was a busy day for some reason. So here she is, what I've done. I have 43.05% completed, waiting for that magical 50%. So I need to get back to her so I can get to that magical 50%. I started her pre-pattern keeper again, so I was diagonally stitching her with park threads. Well, I kept diagonally stitching because it was just kind of fun to see it just kind of come, I don't know, just kind of work. I mean, just kind of like pop out that way. So I've ended up just kind of keeping going on the diagonal. Not totally, as you can see, some of the other additional stitches for places have been put in, but kind of working on a diagonal. So the place that I worked on this was pretty much just filling in black. Again, I just wanted to get as many stitches as I could. So most of the black was that black fill in and the black. Because and this outline down here, because I was trying to get down to my next diagonal. So I thought I would fill it in first so I knew where it was and then just start. I mean, I would stitch that first and then fill it in. So that's what I did. This is on a 25 count. Yeah, it is 25 count. Some of mine are 28, but this one looks, I'm sure this is 25. 25 count, easy grid fabric, 1/1 full cross. Okay, the next one is R for restart. And reason being is I made a mistake on a pattern that I had fallen in love with and I didn't have a big enough piece of fabric. Dumb, but anyway. So I kind of tossed the piece aside. I didn't want to pull it out, you know, and reuse it. At first I was thinking to myself, did I toss it aside or reuse it for something else? I know I picked up a full, brand new piece of fabric for this. So Spinner by the Sea, and started working on it. This is also Heaven and Earth. This is a large piece again. This is an Antiquities artwork by Charles Lenoir. It's 450 by 746. I love this lady with spinning on her little spindle. It's just, love it. I do some spinning myself, mostly on a spinning wheel, but I've done some spindle spinning, but I love just this look on her face and just everything about this piece. So this one, I must have had a lot of time to stitch on this because I was surprised restarting it. This is on a 20, I know this is on a 28 count easy grid fabric because the holes are tinier. I got 601 stitches on that. So I did this totally typewriter. I would like to get across to the other side and then start working my way down. Who knows, that could change. I might decide that I want to see her face, so then I'll go move off into another direction. But right now, that's what I'm doing. I'm just going across typewriter and just filling in down a little bit as each thread fills in some of the colors. Not doing block by block or any of the others. So anyway, this is, like I said, easy grid 1/1 full cross. 601 stitches. Of course, that was only with how large this piece is. That was only 0.18, so it's the one I have the least amount of any percentage done. But for a restart, I thought that was pretty good. So, okay, put that one down. Next one. Open up again. The next one is A, and it's A for the actual title of the piece. African Woman with Peonies 2. I saw this when Denise Morris of Black Ribbon Studio showed it. She wanted to start it, and I fell in love with it. This is an artisy cross-stitch pattern. They tend to be a little smaller, so I do have more percentage done on this. It's about 250 by 196. I started this, even though I was already doing Pattern Keeper, I started this in a diagonal and kind of just started working my way down. I'm not sure why, but I'm kind of glad I did it now because it's been fun. Because like the flowers in her hand and other things start popping up, and I've just been having a lot of fun with that. So by doing that, of course, when I get to about here, I'll finally be getting her face, which will be a while. But I'm still enjoying it the way it is. This one, I got 538 stitches in it, which is good for the day. It's at 15.33%. So, and as you can see, there's my one flower that her hand is holding, as well as some irises up at the top, blue irises, and then a leaf showing down there at the bottom. This is a combination. There's a lot of confetti in this because this isn't all black, this background. It's like some black, some really extreme dark brown, some medium brown, some other darker, almost black. So it's a lot of confetti. So I'm really surprised I got as many stitches in it as I did because I was trying to find a place that was non-confetti and that was impossible. So what I did mostly is, I've kind of gotten off my diagonal. I moved over here a little bit too much because I was having fun with getting the irises shown. So I'm trying now to fill in more of this diagonal here. So as you can see, this was what I worked on because there's a lot of space in there that's not filled in from the other dark background colors. But by doing that, I still got 538 stitches, so that's not bad. Right here, the reason why it's a big cutout, it is still the diagonal finished. This is going to be a big white flower with just a little bit of pink in it. So it's not really showing up really well yet, as you can see. So it's like right there. So it kind of bugs me sometimes. I keep thinking, should I just fill in that whole flower? But then it's still not going to show up all that much. So I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing. This is 1/1, full cross, 28 count, easy grid. And like I said, 15.33 finished on it. Okay, number 11. We're getting down to the end. Number 11 is G, the word G, letter G. And what I did for that is the word gentle. And that's because I'm working on this piece, and I consider this little fairy all gentle. She just looks so gentle to me. This is Heaven and Earth Designs, Hibiscus Fairy, by artwork by Meredith Dillman. This is such a bright, beautiful piece. So many beautiful, just in the part I'm working on, just like reds and pinks and magentas, and I mean, just beautiful colors. I had so much fun working on this. I only have 0.65 done on it. It is, again, a large piece, 400 by 566. But that's above 0.50, so good for me. 480 stitches done. Not bad for the day. I'm doing this on an 18 count Aida. I had this fabric, a big piece of fabric in like this light pink, and I think it's really nice for this piece because this piece has so many pinks and reds and, you know, different shades of colors on it. I worked mostly on moving it over in like a typewriter method. So I think I had stopped pretty much there. So for my 400 and some stitches, I again worked across the top here and filled in. Even though there's confetti, it's not a tremendous amount. I can fill in quite a bit with one thread as I work my way down. So that's good. But these colors are just amazing. Just so pretty. This is 2 over 1 full cross, gridding myself. And I love it. I absolutely love this piece. I need to work on it again. So pretty. This is another one that I'm working on with Sarah, Stitch and Mommy. Okay, and then the last, on the 12th, for our word full coverage, ended with an E. E for me, I put enjoyable, and that's because it's the piece I'm doing my most intense work on, and that is a lace maker, my Artisy. This one you usually see every 2 weeks because I'm trying to progress along on it. The artwork on this is Miles Burkett Foster. The piece is about 240 by 300 stitches, so it's not tremendously huge. I'm a bobbin lace maker, any of you who are first joining me on this channel, and I do show some of my bobbin lace that I make. And I do exactly like that lady there, though not outside of my house in this kind of cold weather, but I do stitch on my desk chair and then have my lace pillow and there, and then I move those little bobbins back and forth and make beautiful lace. And I'll show you what I did during my travels and a little later on that. So lace maker, that was Sunday, was a difficult day. Usually is. You know, I don't have a lot of stitching time on Sundays. And so I got 300 stitches in it, but going through the rest of my time in stitching, I don't have it all added up, but I know I have a whole lot more done in this than that 300 stitches because I worked on this also. I took it with me on my travels, worked on it some, and then I also had some work done on it just before, I think right when I did my last video, like 5 weeks ago. Mostly I went back to here, took the top highest unworked thread and worked my way down. There was a lot of confetti, but I kind of want to get this area, I was just in the mood to get this area filled in some. And that was just my mood then. The last time I worked on it, my mood was to fill in this edge of this roof more, which I did, and finish that little part of that, like little chimney. But this time, I just kind of wanted to get more of this flower work done. That's kind of what happened over here on all this confetti. I got this urge to do all this vine work, and now I got the urge to do all this vine work here. So that is kind of mostly all right through here. And then the very top part of the start of the door there. I'm actually to the lace maker, but for some reason, I don't really want to do her yet. I'm excited about filling it all the way down until she's there and then starting to work on her. So that's just me. This is 25 count, white, even weave, 1 over 1 full cross. This is a little lace maker needle minder. She's working on her lace, sitting just on a step. And I found out from a friend, thank goodness I have friends overseas that watch my video, that this is actually a little mailbox that's kind of the way the mailboxes look. This, I don't know if this, she said this was in Bruges, Belgium, or if it was that sort of area, but that's why, I always thought it was like a rocket ship taking off. And that's what it looks like to me, is a rocket ship taking off. Anyway, but now I know what it is. So that little lace maker's sitting on the steps by the mailbox working on her lace. And the pins are all in front of it, but you can kind of see her there with her little lace pillow. So lace maker's coming along. It's still in its Q-snaps because I work on it as often as I can. So I didn't take it out. So that was my last of my acrostic, doing my full coverage February, and what I decided to do for emphasizing it. I want to thank everybody for joining in. It was really fun. It was so much fun. I just really enjoyed it, and trying to see if there's anything else I want to mention on it before I go on. I did a question every week, and with the question, all the people that answered the question, I entered them in a drawing and did a random pick. So there were 4 winners, and I want to thank you guys again for doing that. I mentioned on my Instagram, which my name on Instagram is Colette Stitcher, ColetteStitcher. If you want to join me on Instagram. Anyway, I mentioned on Instagram, big thanks to everyone who won in the 4 weeks and how much fun I had. So that was it for really pretty much what I accomplished for my full coverage February, because I ended up traveling, and I did bring Lace Maker with me, and like I said, I got some more stitches into Lace Maker, but that's the only full coverage that I brought with me on my trip. So now I'm going to move on and look at my book of days and let you know what I did next. Darn, I spilled some water on it here. This thing looks like it's used, and yes, I'm using it. So, okay. I'm going to move on to what's on top here, actually. Even though, according to my calendar, I did start something else right after my full coverage acrostic was done. I forgot that the last day after I did my video 5 weeks ago, that this was the only Sunday, that was the only Sunday out of these 5 Sundays that I worked on my stocking. We have a hashtag going, Amy Loves Toads, called Sunday Stocking Sal, if you want to join us. We are working on Christmas stockings on Sunday. I've always had these Christmas stockings, and I want to work on them. I want to get them done. So this one that I'm working on is mine, and then the next one I'm working on will be my husband's. So only this last 5 weeks, only one Sunday was I able to work on it due to my emphasis on full coverage February, and also traveling. I didn't bring it along for traveling. I can't bring along a whole lot. I just bring along just like 4 pieces usually, and this didn't make the cut, unfortunately. So 444 stitches was just done in the last 5 weeks. Not much, but I do want to show you though. Here's what I have done totally on it. If you look down here, I am doing the foot part. I'm going to fill that in first before I go up and fill in around the rest of the baubles, and then eventually I think I'm doing my name last. I don't know. That's just kind of how I run. So when I was filling in the baubles, my 400 and some stitches really was just this part of the foot. All of this, those little berries, and then fill in around them. Encompassed my 444 for that day. So now that I'm back home, hopefully I can pick this up and, I will pick this up and work on it. Keep working and get that cute little part of the foot done of that stocking. So, and you can kind of see I was working on that part right there. I've done a little bit of the back stitch on the parts that I was able to back stitch, but I haven't back stitched around the berries yet because they weren't covered totally with the other stitching. So that's my Sunday stocking stitching. That's all I did on that Sunday. So, Okay, now I'm going to move on to the stuff that I worked on that I did take with me on my travels and that I worked on, because I have a couple other for sure stitching that I work on that are sales, ones that I work on every month. And so even though I was focusing on full coverage, I took these two with me to California and I stitched on them, and I managed to get done what I needed to get done. I was surprised, but I did. Okay, the first one is my day complete. It's a Kathy Barrick pattern. I cannot count my day complete until needle fabric thread meet. This is for a hashtag OCT29SAL, which is October 29th sale. That's because this is our fourth time, my good friend Krista, Grammar and me, we do a birthday sale. We both have October 29th for our birthday, and we work on our birthday piece during the year and get it done on our birthdays the following year. This is what we picked this year. We love this pattern, and it just is us. So I did finish what I needed to finish for this month. I have actually done this with the sales I work on that I want to for sure get done. I kind of mark them off. I don't have a mark off on here because this is the main picture, and I don't want to mark off on it. But I section it to where it's like 12 sections. And then that way I do a section a month, or I try to keep up on a section a month. So this one, I did barely finish the section. My section was this one right down here. Actually right down there. So now I've got to work across and do that chubby dove's body, which we'll see how I do, because that's probably the most amount of stitches in this whole piece. See if I can get that done by the end of the month. But even if I don't, I'm still keeping up pretty much on the stitching on this. Last year I was not a good girl, and I was only halfway done by like September, and I'm going, oh no, I got to get this done. So then I had to hurry and just practically work on that only, and that was no fun. So hopefully by doing it this way, I will keep up on it. This is, again, this is the same fabric that I was using for the finished object, the FO that I had at the beginning of my video, Winter. This is some more of the fabric. I had a large piece of it. It's Seraphim Boston, 36 count. I'm actually doing 2/2 full cross. And the reason why is because I personally did not want a prim look to this. I wanted this to pop out more. So that's why I chose to do 2 threads instead of 1. It's a fun piece to stitch, actually. I love the colors in it, and it's been really enjoyable. So anyway, anybody who wants to join us, because if they love Kathy Barrick, feel free. It doesn't have to be this Kathy Barrick pattern. The hashtag is OCT29SAL if you want to join us. So that's what I did, and I did finish that up by the end of the month. My other piece is at the bottom my other cell, so I will tell you that when I get to it. I did do whip go this month. I did manage to keep my whip go going. That was amazing. My whip go I have in here too, in my stitching book. What I chose to do for my whip go this year is, if you look up there, it's hard to see, but it says fan favorites. My whip go this year is a choosing of fan favorites. Commenters, at the end of the year, I asked them for like several videos, like in December actually, to tell me what some of their favorite pieces that I stitch on are. And so people commented back, and so what I ended up doing is putting them on a whip go board and working on them during the year. I feel badly. Last month's whip go, I got quite a bit done and was able to show you quite a lot on the two pieces. This month, not so much. I work on these 3 days. That's what my goal is. I'm not doing a set amount of stitches because I made that mistake last year on whip go, and it was hard to keep up. And since I'm trying to concentrate on full coverage this year, it's been better for me to do 3 days. So I was able to do 3 days on both of them. The choices for that particular for February were 7 and 11. My 7 whip go was Lost No More. I took it with me down to California. I did work on it 3 days. I worked on it actually 3 nights. When I was at the Winter Lace Conference, when I was done doing my lace all day long, I went back to my room and I just tried to do as many stitches as I could on it. So, which didn't come to too many because I was so exhausted that I'd go to bed after a little while. Lace and stitching. My goodness, I was really doing it a lot. This is a Gold Dimensions kit that a lot of you really like. Wish I could have done more. I only got about 300. Let me see. About 300 stitches in it on the 3 nights. One of them was only like 50 stitches, but with the other I had like 150. But so I did between like 50 and 100 stitches each evening. This beautiful, beautiful piece of Jesus with the lost sheep. I decided to pull it out of the Q-snaps just to show you kind of what I've done. Brenda, Hemwork Maniac, is also working on this. She has it almost done, which is looking really neat. I haven't even done any of the back stitch yet on this. I've just, whenever I've had a chance, I pull it out and put in a few stitches. So my 300 stitches were only right down here. I filled in some more of this part of his sleeve in some of those lighter colors. And then I also filled in some of this down here. So, to make the 300. So I did do the 3 days for my whip go. I wish it had been picked another time, actually, but then you always wish that. You never know what's going to get picked for whip go. That's Jessie Marie's brainchild, and she does it like a bingo board. And so you just put down your pieces, and you don't know what number she's going to call randomly. So, and again, the first month I went, no, I don't want that piece called. So that's life. The other piece that was called was my Joan Elliott, the Embroideress. This actually, I had written down all the other commenters' pieces that they liked, but I had a couple empty spaces, and this is one of my favorites. I don't work on it as much as I would like to. I really like this piece a lot. So I put it in my own fan favorite for the Whip Go board. This one, I actually got more done on than Lost No More. Probably because my sister, whose name is Allison, and I were already on our sister trip at the end of February. And we were down at the Airbnb we were staying at. And so in the evening, when we were done with all of our running around during the day, she would just binge watch on... she binge watched on this show, which I got all involved in too, called Picard, about Star Trek, the Star Trek captain from the Next Generation series. And so she's busy binge watching on it. Of course, I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm stitching away and getting actually a lot of stitching done. Amazingly, even though I was looking up every few seconds going, oh no, what's going to happen next? So I got 500 stitches in the 3 days, which was a lot better than the 300 for Lost No More. This I worked on previously, so as you can see, more was done on it at other times. What I worked on this time was I filled this column down all the way, finished it, started this from over here, and also worked this column down. Actually, she starts showing up right about here, I think. No, actually, she starts showing up really right about here. So, but this only goes to right about here because some of her hair comes flowing down there. So, did not check this ahead of time. I know this is a 32 count Lugana. It's an even weave. I think it's a. Oh my goodness, there. I don't remember the name. It's a Back East fabric company. Needleworker's Delight has their fabric, and I just can't remember the name of it right now. You're probably all yelling it to me. But this is kind of a light, pale purple color, and I thought it worked really nicely for what my colors are going to be on the piece. So, because it's just kind of subtle, it's not like too wild. Because I didn't really want a wild color on her. Some of my mirrors I like that on, but on her I just kind of wanted it subtle. So that was my other Whipco piece. I did finish my 3 days on it, so I was able to mark it off. I actually did not bring in, because it's just all the stuff, just to show you all the stuff I did this last month. I'm like, I didn't bring in what I'm going to work on next, but I can tell you what it is. 2 and 22 were chosen. 2 is Victorian Charm. So when I do another video in a couple weeks, I will show you Victorian Charm. And then the other one is Childhood Friends, which is one I'm doing for a friend for a stitch. So, okay, now my last one. God. Okay, this is the one I have to do all my pre-work of writing everything down that I have to say, because I'm in charge. I'm hosting this sale. This is Sunnyside Sampler by the Drawn Thread. I'll show it to you first. It's still in the Q-snaps. I did not want to take it out. I did February's section, and I'll explain to you in a minute how we're doing this sale. But that part was right here. So I did finish that up. Now I'm working on the next section that I've partitioned off for the sale to get done. Because this is another one like my Day Complete with the dove for my birthday sale. It's one that I definitely want done in October. And having 2 sales that are come due in October, I have to be careful and make sure that I keep up on them, section them off, and do the stitching that I need to do each month. Because if I get running off on full coverage or something else, then I won't get it done. So what this is this is a sale for the past 3 years. It started off with 2 of us, and then now it's worked its way to lots and lots of other people. But 3 years ago, 3 of us decided to pick a piece and started at Stitch West, at the Stitch West retreat in Salt Lake City, Utah, which is in October. So we picked a piece, and then we actually would pick it usually around StitchCon, which is in June. That gave us enough time to decide, to get our fabric, our threads, decide how we were going to do it, and everything else. And they made me automatically the official leader of the sale. And the official leader decides where to partition these pieces off, what sections you need to do each month, and all of that good stuff. So as your fearless leader, or as their fearless leader, this is how I partitioned it off for each month. So by doing it, by the time you get to the end there, you will have finished it for next year's Stitch West in Salt Lake City in October. So if any of you are watching this, any of you who work on this, you know all of this, but other people don't, who may be watching it for the first time. So sorry, I am repeating all of this again, but as the fearless leader, I probably better. So I'm stitching mine on a 32 count vintage country mocha. I think it's an even weave, not a linen. I am using the called for silks, which are dinky dyes and NPIs. So, and what else? It's just really, it's been a fun piece. It's just really been fun to do. And sectioning it off in sections is kind of fun to like say, oh, I got a house this time. I've got a, flower garden. I've got a tree, And people can just go on ahead and finish it. No problem. I mean, we don't care. So, but if you are going to be at Stitch West in October and want to do it, at the end, every October, we go up as a group and we show our piece that we've worked on the full year. So it's just really fun. And this last October, we had lots of people stand up. The October before, it was just a few. So as each year goes by, we get more and more. So if you are planning on going to Stitch West and like this piece, work on it, because you can stand up with us when you get it all done. Fun, fun, fun. And again, before I forget, to make sure I don't forget, we have a couple hashtags for this Sal. One is just the typical easy to remember Sunnyside Sampler Sal. The other one is October to October Sal, just OCT, OCT Sal, because it's like an October to October Sal, not like a January. So anyway, that is my last whip. In trying to get this all done and trying to remember it all, I did not even do any planning. I have a planning part to show you, which I apologize, but it's already over an hour anyway after showing you all those whips. I did not actually plan my next 2 weeks, partly because I'm also, I'm always running from thing to thing. Well, I have actually some other things I'm going to this month, but they're all local. One's kind of just a stitching group get together for several days, but it's local. And then the other one is actually we're having a teacher from Japan come to teach us a particular kind of lace and do some designing. I'm going to do some designing with her. So those two things are taking up part of my March. They're local. I don't have to travel to them, but they're local. And so they've been kind of taking up my brain too, trying to figure out, like what I'm going to do. And lace has mostly been on my mind lately because I need to get ready for this lace design class. Oh, and by the way, I need to show you, well, I'll do that in a minute. Trying to remember everything. I was going to show you what I accomplished for my lace, for my traveling, but I'll do that in a minute when I do my traveling part of the video. Anyway, because of that, I haven't personally picked my pieces yet that I'm going to do, and I need to do that because tomorrow's the first day of our little group, our little small group local retreat with my friends, and so I really need to pick those. I'm guessing from what I've gotten done so far is I need to really take Sunnyside Sampler and My Day Complete, both of them with me, and work on them. That's pretty much a given because they have a lot of, especially the one has going to have a lot of stitches in it. The other one has a significant amount because it's a house. So I think that's what I'm going to do is bring them. It would be nice to go, breathe a sigh of relief and have those two cell sections done. So I think that's what my plan is going to be, nothing else. I'll just bring those two and work on them the 3 days. Next week will be the lace, little lace class. And that's going to take up most of the week. We're there 4 days. So I don't believe I'll be doing any stitching. It'll just be all lace. After that, when I come back, it's into my last 2 weeks of the month, which will be full coverage. And Lace Maker will be one of those full coverages that'll work on the whole week. The other one, I think I'm going to pull out my last whip because that means if I pull out the last whip and spend the 5 days on it, then I will have worked on every single full coverage that I started years ago, all the years past, and that'll be nice to do that. So those are probably pretty much my plans. Okay, so I'm going to get my lace piece and show you what I did and also tell you what I did for my traveling. I left Utah on the 15th, February 15th, and traveled to my friend has, one of my close friends has a vacation house in St. George. So I traveled there, spent the night there, and then traveled the rest of the way to Southern California to Costa Mesa. The next day started up the Winter Lace Conference. It's a 4-day conference. I took Milanese lace, and those of you who have watched my videos before will recognize this piece. I decided to work and try to finish my lace cactus, my Milanese lace cactus. Milanese is a real colorful lace. You use a lot of color in it. You can do it in white, but a lot of times we like to use color because it lends itself to a lot of fun color techniques. So anyway, I had finished this main part of the cactus and this part of the cactus. So what I had to work on is I had to do this other arm of the cactus. I had to fill in that filling, that's called a filling, and then do the 2 flowers. So what I ended up getting done was, lace takes a long time to work on, and I also brought another piece that I was working on, but I cannot show that because it's a gift for my husband, and I really can't show it on here because every now and again he watches. So, but I did do some work on it, and I kind of went back and forth. So I filled in the filling, I finished this, and I started one of the flowers. This is in the way, so I'm going to see if I can pull this out. I might as well, and I'll put it down here. This is called a horseshoe, the thing that was kind of whipping around there at the bottom. We call it a horseshoe because of the shape, but we use it to keep the threads kind of raised up off the pattern, so that when we're weaving, because this is a form of weaving when we do lace, when we weave through the pairs, they don't get stuck on some of the pins. Even when you push those pins down, there's pins all in there. A lot of times they are raised just a little to where they catch, so that this horseshoe keeps them raised up some. Lots of bobbin lace technique stuff. I will sometime do a lace with me so I can tell you more about the techniques. Anyway, you can see that I finished right here this arm of the cactus. The reason why you know that I did is because I had to sew in and tie off the threads. I started it at the top, worked my way down, and then I sew in and tie off the threads, and I have to leave a length of them in order to check them before I take it off the pillow and make sure that every thread has been tied and sewed, and then I can cut it off, cut them short. And I started, and I also did the filling right there. That was fun. I was singing an old Jackie Wilson tune called Round and Around and Around and Around, because you kind of turn your pillow around to do those little circles in the middle. And then I started one flower. So these were all totally different techniques, different learning things. So I did pretty well for learning different braids. These inside the middle of each one of these cactus parts is called a braid. So it's like a different technique you have to learn to do that. And then each piece, then you have to sew it off, which sewing and tying it in knots takes a while. And then each other piece takes a while to wind your bobbins again to start the next, because there's sections that you start in. So for the 4 days doing this and the other, I think I did pretty well. So I'm hoping near the end of the month, itchy nose again, I'm hoping near the end of the month I can come back and just get this finished, and then be able to take the pins all out, take it off the pillow, and show it to you guys what it looks like when it's completed. But that is it completed, actually. That's the front part. What I work on is the back part. So when you flip it, it'll look like this. Because when you work on lace, you work on the back part of the lace, because when you sew it in, then you can't see the threads. Here you can see the threads from the back. From the front, you cannot see the threads that you've tied off and sewed in. So, and it has a little bit of a raised look to it. So that's that. So I did that for 4 days, and then after that, I drove down to my sister's house, and we went on our sister trip. And so every year we do a sister trip. Sometimes we do more than once a year, but at least once a year we do a sister trip together. And this year we opted to go to southern Arizona, in the area where Tombstone is. And so we did some stuff in Tombstone, Tubac, which is an artist colony with a whole bunch of really fun Southwest artists and turquoise sellers and all that kind of stuff. We did some hiking and on the Juan Baptista Trail, an old Spanish trail. We went to 2 missions, and what else did we do? And we spent a little bit of time in Tucson. So we were there for 5 or 6 days. We ended up leaving early, mostly because of the weather. Not because of the weather in southern Arizona. It was good that we picked southern Arizona, because even though it was windy and not particularly warm for that place, which is normally in the 70s this time of year, it was like in the 50s, but that wasn't really an issue to me. 50s to me is great. 50s with some partly cloudy skies. A couple days were very windy. That was not the greatest. But the rest of the time, it was actually very pretty. But it's a good thing we picked there and not anywhere else, because everywhere else was getting blasted by wind, by snow, everything. It was just crazy. And I was originally just going to travel with my sister in her car, but I had to end up following her because the next day, her area where she is, because she lives high up in the hills, she was going to get pummeled with snow again. And if my car had been in there, she's on a like 2-mile long dirt road. And I don't mind four-wheeling it around in snow when it's paved, but I don't appreciate it doing it too much on mucky, snowy, muddy, unpaved roads. So we looked at the weather. It was going to be like 4 straight days of tons of snow. And so we just looked at each other and I said, okay, I'm just going to follow you over there, which I did. Which is not very much fun because after doing all the other traveling, it was more traveling. But I'm really glad I did because we left early because there was going to be bad snow again with Allison because the snow had stopped, but it was going to start up again in another day. So she goes, well, I better get home. And I looked at my days and it was going to be really bad where I was because I'm in northern Utah where it snows all the time. So I had a framework. I had like a day and a half where I could get back home without a lot of bad snowy driving. So I took off the same time as her. I'm going to show you pictures at the end of this video of what we did, some of the places we went. We saw the OK Corral shootout, other fun stuff. It was really fun. We had a good time together, even though we had to kind of work around weather restraints. And then I'll show you pictures of coming back, and it just, I think I've had it with this. It's just like, I'm glad we've got a lot of this precipitation because, of course, we do need it. California desperately needs it. We don't need it quite as much, but we do need it. So I was glad for it, but yeah, I'm kind of done now. It can be done. Please be done. I'm going on another retreat in April. I don't need any more April snow. So I'd like it to be done. Anyway, that was my trip for the last 2 weeks of April. I'm already talking about April. My last 2 weeks of February. So I got back safely. Everything was good. Forgot my other part. The reason why I didn't do a video when I first got back, which was my plan, is my husband and I had to turn around the second I got back the next day, and we had to head up to our second house in Washington. His car has been sitting there in the garage for 4 months because he was in a minor accident, but body shops were backed up months, if not a year, to even get a car in to get body work done on it. That's even after the insurance paying for it and all of that. So we finally had an appointment to take it to the body shop so they could start working on it 4 months later, because this happened in November and the car's been sitting in the garage at our second house in Washougal for 4 months. November, December, January, February. So I knew we had to get this done. So we just turned around, went up there, took it to the car place, turned around and came home. So because of that, I have not had a chance to do a video. So all that craziness, you probably wonder, how in the world did I do it? Yeah, I do too sometimes, but I did it. So before I end the video, and I've probably forgotten things, but that's life. Before I end the video, I have to always remember to do my gratitude journal. I am grateful. I'm grateful for you guys. Grateful for you, those of you who sat through this. Grateful for those of you who subscribe. Click on like. Make comments. Thanks so much. I have so much fun with the comments, and I appreciate all my subscribers so much. And I know they appreciate my gratitude at the end of my video, the end of every video. I decided to just open it up to March 8th today because it is March 8th, and just see what it is. I don't always do this. And what was interesting is the March month of this gratitude journal is friends, I think. Let me see, because it seems like it's all friend type of. Yeah, it's friendship. the March month is friendship. Look, it shows the 2 horses. That's so cute. So I picked March, and this is a quote by Bernard Meltzer, and it says, Meltzer? Yeah, Meltzer. It says, a true friend is someone who thinks that you are a good egg, even though he knows you are slightly cracked. So those are my friends. They know I can get to be kind of goofy sometimes. I'm a slightly cracked egg, but I love them and they love me. So that's my quote for today. And so I leave you guys with find the beauty in every day, because it's out there. Find the beauty all around you. Okay. My book just crashed on the ground. This is going to be a funny video. Anyway, find the beauty in every day. It's out there everywhere you look. Even if you are not able to travel, there's beauty all around you, wherever you live. Look for it. You're going to find it. So anyway, love you guys. Great to visit with you again. And I'll see you on my next video, probably in a couple weeks. So anyway, take care all. Goodbye.